So welcome back to Learning Partner. This is the Angular 21 tutorial. So like Angular 21 got released before some days. So many things, new things are there. Major thing is by default your Angular application is zoneless. There is no use of zone.js now. So Signal plays a very important role now. So till now we have covered project creation, file structure, component, data binding, signal, control flow statement, ng class, ng style, and routing. Now we are moving towards the form. So this is like very basic thing. Now we are moving towards the form. Pipe is there again in the basic, but once API call integration is done, then I will explain the pipe. So first we will see all the three form. Till now, up to Angular 20, we just had template form and reactive form. Now we have got new form, that is signal form. It is in beta mode only, but again stable. You can use it also, right? So better to be aware like how signal form is there, how it works and everything, right? So for now, in this particular video, we will be discussing template form, right? Before moving ahead, if you are not subscribed, please do subscribe. In video description, you will be finding a link of my WhatsApp group. You can join that also. You can connect with me with your queries and your doubts. Fine. Now let's start. Now, so as like we will create a component. Like JSON placeholder APIs are there. You just simply type JSON placeholder dot or simply just type JSON placeholder. This only site will come. So they provide a mock API. They provide mock API for your testing. This is just for learning purpose. Whenever you have to do the API integration, you don't know which API you have to integrate. So these APIs you can integrate. Fine. So here post API, comment API, update, photos, to dos and users. So many APIs are there. Now from this, what we will see, let's say album API. What data we have? Very less data we have. So to do API. Yeah. Or let's find the user API. User is the API, the right API, what we need to do. Fine. So user API, we will try to integrate. Now, in Angular, we have now three types of form: template form, reactive form, and signal-based form. Template form is means by using ng model. Okay. So what we do, we will create a user component. So let's open a new terminal. Ng generate component user master. Once you create the component, you have to create the routes also, right? So let's create the route. Let's copy, paste. Then your page name, that will be user, sorry, users, and here user master, your class name. Fine. So you created component, you created the route, then you need to add a navigation link, right? So I will copy, paste, whatever the route name you have given, that is user, it will go over here in the route link, and the text you have to change. Users, let's save, and let's try to access localhost 4200. See, we are able to access our page. Okay. Now, so what is template form? So template form is basically by using your ng model. Let's say this API, user API, we want to integrate. We want to do the CRUD operation of your user API. So first I will just, in this episode, I will just try to explain template form and reactive form. For signal based form, I will keep it a separate episode because that is something new. So I might have to explain so many things. But template and the reactive we will complete in this video. Again, not API integration, just how we design the form. Okay. So user form, we will say this component we will be using for template form. Now let's say you have an API. You are working on a page, you are working on some task and you want to integrate a API and you want to basically do the CRUD operation. So normally API person will provide you the URL and what object you need to send. We will assume that this kind of object we need to send, just 4 or 5 fields. So what we do, we need to create the object. So how do we create an object? So user object equal to curly bracket and fields. Let's say user ID is 0. We will initialize this with empty. Let's say password also empty. Let's remove this single quote. We don't need this. So what I did, I just created an object. Fine. Let's format. So what I did, I created a variable and in that variable I have stored an object. Now let's say you have a form and in that form you need to bind this object so that whatever, whenever user fill the value inside that particular text box, that value should get stored in the respective value. Okay. So you created the object, and how do you decide the properties? According to the API. API developer will let you know what fields you have to use. So that same field we put it into our object. Next thing, you need the form. So with this, like I think in some episode, I have explained you ChatGPT. For navbar, I have used, that this navbar, whatever the navbar you see, this navbar was created by ChatGPT. Now I will explain Copilot also. So if you are not using it, Copilot, you means if you are a fresher, try not to use it. But if you are already experienced developer, you should start using it. Okay. Now what I need, this is my object. So for this object, I need a UI form for my CRUD operation. So what I will say, for this object, I need form. Use bootstrap to design form. Let's add some field again. Let's say city, state. Okay, just two more fields I have added. Let's update it over here also. Sorry. Now we have already added the prompt. So do for this. So what I said, this is my object, and for this object, I need the form. Which technology? So bootstrap. Instead of directly HTML CSS, use the bootstrap. Fine. So let's see. Oh my God, it is in agent mode. Let's see if it will update over here. Yeah, HTML file it has done. So now it will directly create. So there are three mode: agent, plan, ask, and edit. So if you have selected the agent mode, by default, it will update the files also. And you just have to accept it. Forms module it has imported because we are going to use, oh my God, it has done everything. I don't want everything. Let's undo it. I will say, because what I will explain, otherwise if Copilot is only doing everything, what I will explain, right? So I just need static HTML code only. Don't add, because it understands this is an Angular project, so by default it has added the template form. Okay, so don't add ng model. Let's see. Okay, so spelling mistake is there, but still it will understand. No need to worry. So now it will just create the HTML. See, it has not binded ngMolar or anything. So let's accept it. Now let's close this. So you can see basic form you got. Let's go and check. See, basic form you got. Now, so this is the object. This object we need to bind it over here. So how do we bind it? So using ng model, if you have to use ng model, you have to import forms module. So forms module you need to import. Then let's open it side by side. So this is my object. This object we need to bind. So on every text box, we need to bind the respective field. So how do we bind it? Square bracket, round bracket, ng model. What you need to bind? Now ID you need to bind it over here, but ID is inside my object. So user object dot ID you need to bind like this. So same thing you need to copy paste everywhere. Just property name will be different. Here name you will bind. Getting it? So this is your template form. It's very easy. Okay, username. Let me just quickly copy paste. Email, password, city, and state. Let me bind the field name also. City, password, email. So what we did, we created the object. That object we binded to our form. Who will what properties you need to take in the object? Who will tell you? API developer will tell you what properties you have. Basically, normally we have Swagger. We check the Swagger, what fields are there. Like that, we design the object. Like that, we design the form also. Okay. Let's just save and check if we have any errors. So currently, if you see, we are getting one error. What is this error? If ng model is used within a form tag, name attribute must be set. So if you are using ng model inside a form tag, wherever you are using ng model, their name attribute should be present. This name attribute. This is not from Angular. This is from HTML only. So this you need to be adding everywhere. And what you added over there, the same field name like this. Let me quickly do this. Username, email. Let me quickly do it. So same field name, whatever the field name you have binded over here, same property name you need to add it over here also. Email. Fine. If I save now, let's reload. So now you see you don't have that error. But let's say in all the element, if you remove any one, still you will get the error. Again, we will get the error. Let me open it. Why? I don't know. In new version, it is breaking. If your console is open, it breaks. It should show directly over here, but it is breaking. Okay. So see, wherever you are using ng model, make sure if ng model you are using within a form tag, then name attribute is mandatory. But let's say I remove this form tag, then you won't get that error because now you don't have form tag. Okay. See, now you don't have error. But as soon as you add the form tag, if you are using ng model and name attribute is not present, like where we have on the city, we removed the name tag. So again, we will start getting that error. Understood? Fine. So let's add name property over here also. City, city. So this is your template form. Now, whenever we talk about form, so what the next thing is validation. So how do we do the validation? Let's say out of this name is mandatory. So we need to show the validation. Now let me close this. We don't need this. Now the name property, the name field is name text box is mandatory. So what we do in HTML only, we add the validation rule required. Let's say this is required and minimum length, maximum, let's say 5 characters needed. So these are the rules what we have. So on the HTML form only, in the HTML template only, we add all the rules. Key required, min length, max length, pattern. So many validation rules are there. So all the validation rule we add on the element only. Then after that, you have to create a template reference variable. This is something new, hash property or template reference variable. So hash name user, or let's go with the same property name. It's like creating a variable in HTML. And what you need to store here, ng model. Means whatever the data you get in this ng model directive, that you are storing into this variable. Okay. Now, so here text danger, a div I am creating with this class. Okay. Here, let's say I have this is required. Okay. Now, for validation, what you need to do first you add all the required validation rules, whatever you need. Then you create the template reference variable like this. Then now let me show you what do you get in this. But for that we need pipe because dot errors we won't be able to print. We will get the error, circular error we will get. Let's reload. So okay, we didn't get. Okay. But error, we will get the object. So if you need to print the object, you need a pipe. So for now, I didn't explain the pipe, but JSON pipe is there. So pipe will help you to, because by default object you cannot print. But if you want to print the object, you have to use the JSON pipe like this. Again, I will repeat this, but as this was needed over here. So let's check. Okay. Now here you see after hyphen we printed that errors. So currently what is the error we are having? Required. If I provide the value, your error message will change. See, now error message got changed, the required. If I remove this value, again required. So your validation. Okay. Now how do you show and hide? So let's say you have two validation. This is required and min length is 5. So we will have respective to span. Minimum 5 characters needed. Okay. Now at a time, only one validation will be displayed. So by default, here I'm using control post statement at the rate if name dot errors question mark dot square bracket required. Okay. So if in my error object, I have the required property present, then I need to show this span. Okay. Second else at the rate else if second property. If in my error object, I have min length error, property error will be min length. Then I will show this. Okay. So let me just remove this or let me keep it. Once I push the code, you will be able to access this. Now see, by default, only one message is visible. This is required because currently we didn't provide any value. But if I provide any value, see your error message got changed. The next validation error, minimum 5 character. If I provide 5 character, see that validation message also gone away. Because with my field, according to the rules, I don't have any validation error now. If I remove 1 character, see, again I got the validation. This is your validation. But when, let's say, a normal scenario, whenever you visit a page where you have the form, directly we don't show the validation. Unless user touch the form or start typing, we don't show the validation. So to do that, we add one more property above this div at the rate if user has touched it or not. So name, your template reference variable, touched or dirty. Two things we add. Dirty is something else. Once we are with the CRUD operation, then I will explain what is dirty. Two check we add. If user has touched this or not or dirty, then only we need to trigger our validation. So now by default, your validation won't trigger. Okay, let's see now properly. So see, by default validation is not there. But let's say if user touch and click away, your validation start triggering. Got it? Understood? So in all the field, you have to add the validation like this. First if block will be for touch and dirty, then respective span messages or div or wherever you want to show, respective error message check will be there. This is your validation. Let's say you want to disable the button unless all the fields are valid, you don't want to enable the button. So that also you can do. So on the form tag, you create a template reference variable hash form val form data. What you store over here? ng form. So on ng model, what you do? ng model you store on the template reference variable. On the form, ng form. Now whole form data, is it a valid value? Everything you will be able to access over here. So let's say you want to disable the button. So on this submit button, input property binding dot invalid. See now. So your button is disabled because this is your required field. See, button got enabled. See, current color got changed. If I remove this, see again button got disabled. Got it? So this also you can do. So this is everything what you should know for the template form. How to create template form, how to add the validation. Now similarly, reactive form is also there. Now let's create one more component for reactive form. So ng generate component, reactive user. Fine. Let's quickly create the route. Reactive user and the component reactive user. In link also we need to add it. So let's copy, paste our route name. Again, in routing also some advanced things are there that we need to check. Once I'm done with all the basic topic, then I will explain those also. Reactive user. Fine. Let's save, let's close. Now the same form I will use. Okay. I will just copy this and same form I will put it over here. First I will remove the ng model. Okay. So this form also we don't need. ng model I will remove. This I will copy. This I will just comment because same in reactive form also validation is almost same. But just little bit changes is there. Okay, let's remove this too. We don't need that much. Okay, so now this is our reactive form. Let's open both the file now. Reactive user. Okay, so we got the form. Let's hide the ID also. We don't need ID. Fine. So our form is ready. Now what is reactive form? So template form is very easy. You create the object, you bind it. All the validation will be on the HTML side. It's very easy. Reactive form is little bit difficult to understand. And mostly 80% time whenever all the live projects, real-time application, enterprise level application, reactive form they will prefer, because so many things are there in reactive form which are not there in template form by default. Again, there is an interview question. They will ask you, is there something we have that we can do in reactive and we cannot do in template? There is no such thing that we can do in reactive and we cannot do in template. But in reactive, so many things are by default provided, but to achieve the same thing in template, we have to write a custom code. Okay. So don't say ki, yeah, this thing we do in reactive form, but in template form we cannot do this. Nothing is like that. Okay. Now, so here we don't create the object. Now reactive form, if you want to use the reactive form, you have to import reactive form module. Just like in template, if you want to use ng model, you have to import forms module. So here you have to import reactive form module. This you have to import. Then you have to create a reactive form. You don't create an object, you create a form. So let's say user form is equal to or colon new, sorry, form group data type is equal to new form group round bracket curly bracket. This is how you create a form. This is your form. The data type of form will be form group. And here you are initializing your reactive form. Now, how many things we have? Name, username, email, and the password. Only 4 fields we have. So here you have to create the control. This is your reactive form. Inside the reactive form, you will be having the control. So name, colon, new form control. This is how we create the reactive form with initialized value. Name, then username, colon, new form control. We will initialize with C. Whatever default initialization you want to do, that you do it over here. Then we have email, new form control, round bracket, double quote. And last one is password. Colon, new form control, round bracket, double quote. So you see, we create in case of template form, we created object, but in case of reactive form, we have to create a form like this. Your form name, data type form group, you initialize that form, and inside the form, you create the controls like this. This is the default initialization value. Okay. You created the reactive form. Now, how do we bind it? So on the form tag here, you have to use form group, square bracket property binding, and whatever your form name, that form name you bind it over here. Okay. You create the reactive form, you bind the reactive form name over here on the form tag by using form tag form group property binding. Then on every element you want to bind, you have to bind your form controller name. Means whatever the name you have given. So this name, left side name, you have to give it over here. Form controller name. Then here username. Let me just copy paste. Then I will change. Password will go over here. You know that name property is not needed in reactive form. That is needed only in the template form. In reactive form, name property doesn't play any role. So you create the reactive form. On the form tag, you add the form group, and on every element, what you do, form controller name is equal to whatever your property name, control name you have given over here. Let's save and check if we have any error. What is this error? Username, it is not able to find. How come? Username, form controller name. Do we have name tag? Sorry, on the label I added it. My bad. Here we need to do it. Everywhere I added it on the label. So while copy pasting, you have to be so careful. Sometimes you will do the copy paste, you don't get the proper error message, you will be playing. Save. Let's reload. Now it should be fine. Okay, now we don't have error. So what we did, we created the reactive form. That form name we binded on the form tag by using form group property binding. Then on every element we binded form controller name with the respective control name. Now the validation. In template form, we used to add the validation on the template itself. But in reactive form, where you create the form, there only you add the validation. So comma, validations are multiple. So square bracket array validators dot required first validation validators dot, let's say, min length. So how many min length? Let's say 4 character. Like this, you add the validation. All the pattern, required, min length, max length, all the validation you add it over here on the element itself. Let's say on the username, you just have only one validation that is required. So validation rules in the reactive form, we add it on the form level, mid.ts. Okay, that's why we say key when we have to when that interview question is there, na, what is the difference between template and reactive form? So we say in template form more code is on the HTML, less code on the .ts, and in reactive form more code is on the .ts and less code on the HTML. That's why, because we do so many things. Okay, now this is how you add the validation. Now how do we show the validation? So in template form, let me remove this placeholder. So in template form, we added the validation by using template reference variable. But here, let me uncomment this. Here you don't need the template reference variable. Here you need to select a specific control from your form. So user form dot controls, user form dot controls, square bracket, single quote, your control name property dot touch. Remaining things will be same. There we created template reference variable. Instead of template reference variable, here you select your specific control like this. That's it. Remaining validations are same. 4 character, no? Yes. Let's see if validations are working. So by default, validation is not triggering. Let's say if I touch and click away, validation triggered. If I provide any value, see, validation message got changed. If I provide the 4 characters, then validation got away. Understood? So same way. Now let's say you want to disable the button. What you did over here. Again, property binding, disabled. What you do? You have already form. You don't need to create again template reference variable. So form dot invalid. Sorry. Let's save. Let's save. See, your button is disabled. Okay. Still button is disabled because username was required. So once I provide a value, button got enabled. Understood? So validation is almost same. Just little bit way of writing thing is there different. There we used to create the template reference variable. Here we directly access the specific control from our form. And validation there in template form, it was we were deciding it on the HTML form, but here we are writing it on the .ts. That's it. So this is your template form and the reactive form. Okay. Again, this we are going to repeat again in the API call integration, but for now, I just wanted to have a specific video for template and the reactive form and the validation itself. Okay. As we decided, like in every episode, we'll be trying to complete as much as things we can do. Okay. I'm going with a very basic thing. I'm not explaining so advanced things. So even if you are a fresher, you will be able to understand everything. Just go by the flow. Okay. Where whatever I'm explaining, try to do the practice of it. You will get hands on the Angular also. Fine. So again, just to repeat, please do like, subscribe, and in video description, you'll be finding a link of WhatsApp group. You can join that. Thanks for watching.